Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon,
Good
ma'am.
afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon,
Good
ma'am.
afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Before the speaker comes in today, I have some questions which I want to ask you guys. Anyone can answer, but before you answer, just ask me, may I, so that I can point out whom to answer. Okay? Right. Can anyone tell me what they remembered from the last session that we had, which was taken by Mr. Gauri Shankar? Can anyone tell me just in 2 lines what you remembered from the session? Come on, students. Anyone? What did you remember? What were the key takeaway points for you? Anyone?
Sir, may I?
Yes, please. Please.
So he asked us to keep on dreaming and change our belief into action, sir.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Absolutely. That's good, Lasya. So that's exactly what he said. He asked you to keep believing. So he believes in a person thinking about something constantly and often becoming what he or she believes in very strongly, right? So there is a saying in Sanskrit, Yat bhavayati tat bhavati. Whatever you think of is what you will become, right? So the more and more and more you idealize your dream, the more you think about what you want to become, how you want to go there, what is the way to go there, then the more you will be successful in achieving your dreams. So it's very, very important. Nobody who has not dreamt of anything can ever be great in life. Right? Students, gentle request to everyone to keep their microphone muted. Don't want any disturbance during this session. Okay, so as I was saying, it's very important to have a dream, right? So your dream is going to become your drive, and your drive is going to make you succeed, right? So you should have the dream to be able to visualize things for yourself. How do you see yourself? How do you position yourself, right, for the future? And how do you understand what is it that you have to do so that you can succeed in life? So that choice should necessarily come from you, and you should know how to structure your thoughts and goals so that you can have a clear understanding of how you can proceed and work towards your goals. So why are these sessions being organized? Why are we having so many people from different professions coming in? Can anyone tell me anything that you feel? Why do you think these sessions are being organized? by Mahatma Gandhi and Investro. Why do you think? What is the purpose of this? Can anyone tell me? Why do you think these sessions are being held?
Profession.
Solima, sorry. What are you saying, ma? I couldn't hear.
This talking for our profession, sir.
Okay, for your profession. Anything else? Is it just for the profession alone?
Carriers.
Career. What is the difference between career and profession? Does anyone remember what I spoke about during the very first presentation? Anyone? What is a job? What is a career? What is a task? You remember? Anyone? Did anyone note that down? Anyone has any idea?
Career means fulfilling our goals, sir.
Career means
Yeah. Okay. So what is a job?
Sir, can I try, sir?
Yeah, please.
The job is the position that we fulfill each day, sir.
Okay, yeah, very good. Job is
For
what
our
we do
career.
every day. Very good, very good, very good. That's right, absolutely. So I'm happy that you guys are able to recollect. See, one of the things that all the speakers who come in, including myself, have been amazed by is the amount of proactivity you guys have, the amount of awareness you have, right? The number of things that you know, how you think. These things never fail to amaze us as speakers when we come in to address you. And that is why we feel, both the institution and Investro feels, that you need the right exposure to the right set of candidates, to the right set of professionals who've managed to create a powerful impact in their career or field of service, right? So that is something which we are very, very excited about. And we think that if you make maximum use of these circumstances, of these workshops, it will definitely create a strong opportunity for you, right? Is something which we all want for you. Okay, so let's start off. So I'd like to introduce today's speaker. Students, once again, I make a final request to you guys to please keep your microphones muted unless you're raising any point, because it causes the entire session to get distracted, right? So a gentle request to all of you guys. Thank you, everyone. Right, so I'm going to share the profile of our speaker today. So Mr. Abhishek, who has agreed to speak to us, Mr. Abhishek Ravichandran is a chartered accountant with more than 9 years of professional experience in valuation, equity research, taxation, and he's one of the partners of M.R. Ravichandran and Co., which is an LLP, right? I'm sure you can ask him what an LLP is, and those are one of the things that you can learn about during the session. So his area of expertise lies in providing valuation and virtual CFO services to small and medium entities. So they specialize in taxation and auditing, right? So he did his schooling at PSBB in Chennai, right, and graduated with a bachelor's in commerce from Loyola College. So another interesting factoid that you should know about our esteemed guest for the day is that prior to completing his CA, he was a full-time table tennis player who played for India at the World Championships in 2011 and won bronze at the CWG 2010, right? So with great honor, I'd like to welcome Mr. Abhishek Ravichandran and thank him for having decided to spend valuable time out of his busy schedule in mentoring our students so that they can see what is it that lies ahead of them and how they can structure their knowledge and their learning pathway so as to make the most use of the opportunities that are given to them. So before I hand it over to Mr. Abhishek, I'll also request Abhita ma'am to speak a few words to welcome Mr. Abhishek.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, Abhishek.
How are you?
It gives me immense pleasure in welcoming the speaker of the day, Mr. Abhishek Ravichandran, Chartered Accountant, partner in M.R. Ravichandran and Co., LLP, Chennai. He did his schooling from PSBB, Chennai, and graduated in BCom from Loyola College. He is also a full-time professional table tennis player who played for India at the World Championship 2011 and won bronze at the CWG 2010. We are indeed elated to welcome you, Abhishek.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the introduction, Aditya.
Yeah, it's my privilege to welcome our secretary, sir, madam correspondent, principal madam, vice principal madam, staff and students of Mahatma Gandhi Centenary Vidyalaya. I hope everyone has completed and submitted the form.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, good afternoon.
Sorry, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Over to you, Abhishek.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the introduction.
Thank you so much,
Aditya
Aditya,
and
for
Abhita.
introducing Abhishek to us.
Thank you, ma'am. My pleasure.
Pleasure is mine as well. Yeah. Hope all of you are doing well and staying safe during these pandemic times. I'm really glad to see a great participation here. So first of all, it's really wonderful that these sessions are being organized by the school, and Aditya has taken a great step to come forward with these interactive sessions. So I would like to keep it very interactive. Okay, if you have any doubt, just turn the mic on and start asking me questions. It can be more like a conversation. So I don't believe in giving lectures and all. So you can, anytime you want to stop me, just ask me a doubt. Raise your hand and just ask me. Okay, feel free to ask me. Just to give a brief to add what Aditya said. So my journey has been a little different compared to what other professionals undergo. So I was initially a sports person, and then I became a full-time chartered accountant. So to start off with, similar to most of your profiles, I started off like a normal school-going kid, and my school teacher asked me to try my hand at sport, and so I was trying cricket first, and I got selected in the school team. But then I also tried table tennis at the same time. My sir actually took the call for me. So he said, "Why don't you play table tennis? Because everyone is taking to cricket. It's a different sport, and you can be a different player." So he asked me to, he started grooming me, and he asked me to take to table tennis. We had small professional clubs in Chennai where we used to train. So the journey began in 1997, 98 when I started playing competitively, and it was only at the state level. So like any other kid, I used to get beaten up very badly. So first few tournaments were like a nightmare actually. If you go for a tournament, you'll feel like, okay, I want to come back home without crying. So that used to be my attitude. We used to get beat up very bad. So initial few years were very hard. And being in sport, like that's one thing which I learned from the sport. So the more you play, the better you get at it. And you'll have competition. You'll constantly keep having competition. And the world is growing. So we are all like 7 billion, 7.5 billion people in the world. So competition is something which will remain at least as long as you and I are alive. Okay. So be prepared for a lot of competition in your life. This is going to happen everywhere, whether you like it or not. You have to keep encountering competitive environments. Okay. And so coming back to my journey, so the initial few years were a lot of struggle. And I fortunately happened to crack the state team first. It was in 1998 when I played my first national tournament. And then in 2000, I played for the state and under 14. And then the journey became more serious and more professional. So I had to be focused on my TT initially, and I had to balance between school and my so-called co-curricular.
Can you speak loudly?
Yeah. Hello, am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, you are out.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. The initial few years, I had to do this juggling, right, between sports and academics. So the first, like, most of you, I guess, are from between 8 and 10, right? Class 8 and 10.
Yeah.
So these are some formative years in your life when you want to, you'll be getting exposure to a lot of things. You'll be understanding a lot of things about the world. But this is a good opportunity for you to, channelize your energy. You'll be getting stronger physically and mentally. So if you can channelize that energy to something you like, something which you're passionate about, I think that's going to reap a lot of benefits in the future. So these formative years in my life, personally, out of my personal experience, I'm saying, so 8 to 10, class 8 to 10 was very critical for me. So I used to miss so much of school, and my teachers they were really nice. They helped me out, but they used to be concerned that if I miss a class, how will I cope up in the exam? How will I shape my future in academics? So all these concerns were very genuine. But I think end of the day, the individual's effort will matter. So if you are focused, if you want to, achieve your goals, I think that will matter end of the day. And so the journey started like that. And fortunately, I had a good set of friends good ecosystem where you could, be supported, be allowed to perform your duty. So, yeah. So all these tournaments actually helped me perform better at academics. So when I started playing more matches, something I realized is when you start putting your efforts at a particular passion, right? When you start channelizing your energy into one area, you actually channelize it across the spectrum. It's not just for that domain you do it. So if you're good at sport, it doesn't mean you become bad at academics. This is something which I learned out of my personal experience. And I've understood that there were a lot of elite sports people who were brilliant in academics. Not just sports people, everyone who had an extracurricular were incidentally good at academics. So academics is, so what I would say is, it is important that you study. So marks could be incidental in the long run, but your learning, your takeaway is more important. This is something which I would like to establish upfront, because even today, skill sets matter more than your achievements. So today, what kind of skill sets are you going to learn? That is going to matter in the long run. So please remember this. This will help you in the long run. Next 10 years are going to be in the hands of people like you. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, financial professionals are going to come from this batch. And I hope everyone is going to, channelize their energy in the right way. And okay, so coming back to my journey, it began at the national level only in 2002. And then it slowly progressed to the international level. So I played for Junior India, which is like under 18 category. So I played for India for a couple of years. And that time, again, I had to balance between sport and academics. I was in my 12th. And so incidentally, because my support system was good, my parents, my brother, my friends, my teachers, all of them were cooperative. And they helped me score well in my boards as well. So both in 10th and 12th, I was able to get more than 90%. Which is not, I won't say it is a deal breaker or some criteria which you need to fulfill, but it gives you some kind of satisfaction. That's it. Marks were just a satisfying, benchmark. It's not a measure of success at all. So this journey kept going on for a while. When I was in my 11th and 12th, right? So I had to take a call between science and commerce, where I was initially in science and then I moved to commerce. Here it was a little tricky because I had to sacrifice. Sacrifice is something we created. So it is not a sacrifice per se, but they said it was like you forego science, you are good at academics, you should not forego on that. So I had to take a call, and I was very passionate about my sport. So I took a call, conscious call, went against all odds and moved to commerce. And till this date, I don't regret any decision in my life. So I think it was a very good decision I did. I was able to play for a while longer, and the whole journey which followed was amazing. Like those experiences, even if you study, right, you may not get it all your life. You may probably end up getting it when you're older. So that kind of cultural interaction, traveling across the world, these were some experiences which I got only through the sport. So it is definitely useful if you have some extracurricular and if you're able to hone it. And today, I think the kind of platforms we have to connect across the world is phenomenal. It's only the right platforms you need to choose. Once you choose the right platform, I think you're going to grow and you're going to get global recognition as well. And people from India are actually doing well across the board. So they're doing well in tech, they're doing well in math, they're doing well in sport. So you take any spectrum, like badminton, for example. 10 years back, we didn't know how badminton was played. Today, every nook and corner in Chennai has a badminton court. So there are so many academies. There is so much of future potential they've created. So that's nice to see. I'm saying how we are evolving as a country and how the role of kids is going to be very critical for us. That being said, let me move a little bit into my academic journey. So I took a call to take to CA only when I was in my college. So I was playing for the country, and then I took a step back, introspected, thought I should do something related to academics, and enrolled for this course, Chartered Accountancy. And the journey started in 2007. So I had to give a foundation level 1 exam, which I have a small presentation to make, which I'll explain later. So there is level 1, level 2, and level 3. You have to clear each level, and you have multiple attempts. So there's no pressure on a candidate to clear at one shot. Of course, it'll be a matter of privilege and pride if you do it at one attempt. So they take pride in saying that I cleared in one attempt because it's a competitive exam. but there is no hard and fast rule that you need to clear in this particular course in one shot. So the biggest advantage is you have multiple attempts. You can still, if you're not prepared for any reason, it could be personal, health, medical reasons, it could be professional, other reasons. You might have something else. You might have an extracurricular coming up. So you enroll for an exam, you're not able to give your best shot, you still don't have a problem. So that way I was lucky. So the course is structured in a way, it is very flexible. So you can take an exam in May, you can take an exam in November. You have to, so basically this foundation course is like that. So you have multiple, attempts in over the year. So you can take one shot in May, one in November. Back then in our time, we had four exams. So we can take it anytime, at any point of time in the year, we can take it in any quarter. Basically between Jan and March, we can take an exam, in Feb probably. And then in May, we can take one. We can take one in August and one in November. So we had that flexibility in taking the exam. This is something which I found very comfortable, which is why I took to the course. And then going forward, I understood that it is something bigger. So it's not just about clearing exams. It is the kind of networking you get to do. So you get access to a lot of professionals. You get access to a lot of academicians, people who are in different walks of life. So everyone, end of the day, okay, how many of you, okay, you can unmute your mics and any of you can just say, how many of you are aware about income tax, like income tax, GST? Anybody can come forward and tell me how it works. What is income tax? What is GST? Just in your own words.
Come on, students. Anyone?
Yeah.
Just give it in simple words. There's no right or wrong answer, guys. We're just finding out like how much you're aware. And don't be conscious. Please come forward and answer.
You're making me feel conscious, actually. I feel a little awkward now.
Come on, guys.
Yeah, any of you can. Okay, do you want me to pick? I think picking is not good. I mean, you can just unmute and talk.
Anyone? What do you think? What does the term income tax mean to you guys? I think you can just try to play around with the term.
Can you unmute, Lasya? I think you're trying to talk something.
Oh, is it?
No, sir, I have no knowledge about
GST, government service tax.
Income
Okay.
means getting, so income means getting something. So
Yeah.
goods and services.
GST stands for goods and service
Government service.
taxes.
Okay. Okay. Let's
Yeah.
have an orderly session. One second.
Yeah,
One second.
can you raise your hand and one sec. Is there an option to raise the hand?
Sir,
There is.
may I?
Yeah, sir.
Yeah. So can we have Danya Shri first?
Sir, may I?
Yeah. Can we just follow an order? Yeah.
Sir, can I?
Tax.
What did you say, Danya?
Direct tax.
Direct tax. Okay, fine. What is direct tax? Good. You said something. So just try to build on it. Let our fellow colleagues also understand what it means.
What about Radha Lassen? Radha Lassen, you were saying something. Can you come forward?
Sir, can I tell?
Yes.
Not.
I just
Yeah.
said that GST stands for goods and services taxes,
Mhm.
and
Okay.
income tax. I'm familiar with the term, but I'm not quite sure what exactly it means. But I'm guessing it has some
Good, good.
income means getting. So
Okay.
does that have anything to do with the meaning of the right definition of income tax?
Income, you're right. You're partly right. So income is basically what you receive. That's right. And tax is what you pay to the government. So that is partly a good way of understanding. I would say preliminary understanding is very good. Anyone else?
Thank you, sir.
So there is a comment also, Abhishek, in the chat.
Okay. Yeah. GST is calculation on every product. Okay. Income tax is totally different from GST. Okay. Correct. Income tax and GST are different. Okay. Fine.
What about Suganya? Suganya, can you come forward?
Income tax means yes, sir, can I?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
The government
Please go.
will.
1 second, students. Let's go orderly. Suganya first.
Yes, sir. Easy and simple online procedure.
Which one?
GST, sir.
Okay, it's just a procedure, is it?
Okay, how many of you go out and eat? How many of you have gone? Okay, before the pandemic. Okay, let me be very specific. How many of us have gone to a restaurant and had a meal?
Sir, I eat.
Okay, we all eat. I think everyone would have had.
Yes.
Yeah, sir.
Okay, you would have ordered even from Swiggy, or do you have Swiggy and all very prominently used there?
Yes, sir. In pandemic. In pandemic, we would.
Before the pandemic.
Okay, okay. So, do you guys notice that there is a receipt? There is something called a receipt which we get.
The bill, sir.
They have GST and CST, sir.
Okay, okay. Right, right. Okay, we are noticing something on a bill. Okay, so
Yes,
there is
sir.
some, you order an item, there is a value for that, and then they are calculating something called tax. So what is that? Whether that tax is direct or indirect, whether that is income tax or GST.
GST,
GST. Okay. So you're correct. So there is a small difference. Like one of our students said, GST and income tax are different in the sense you're paying tax to the government even when you're spending. So when you're making an expenditure, you're trying to pay tax to the government. This is being collected by the government through the hotel, through the restaurant, basically. Okay. So we pay tax even when we spend money. It's not that we pay tax only on income. So this is some point which we need to understand. You can pay tax even on expenditure. This happens across the world. So GST is a concept which, yeah. Sorry? Did someone ask?
A disturbance, Abhishek.
Okay, okay. Yeah. So we have this concept across the world. Okay. So tax is just one ambit which I touched upon. Okay, just to understand if you guys have seen a bill, seen something called GST, which is very common. So we had movies coming up talking about GST. It was good in a way. It was people were spreading awareness about the concept of GST. So one good thing is a lot of people are more aware today. Like what GST is. There is something called GST. There is a particular rate which is there. So you charge GST on whatever item you're ordering. Okay, it's very simple. But the role of, let's say, a professional like me comes in when businesses don't know how much to charge. So this restaurant will come to us and ask, okay, how much do I charge? So you tell me what is the correct rate. So can I charge 5%? Can I charge 12%, 18%, 28%? So there are different rates which are prescribed by the government. So they will come to us and then they'll ask, can I do this? Can I charge a particular rate? Is there an option for not charging GST? Are there items where I need not charge GST? So milk, for example, milk may not have GST. Okay. So there are some products which don't have GST. So you have something like this and you get exposure. So there is so much of finance going around all around us every day. So even every transaction which you're doing, like even in my survey, I had asked what a transaction is. So a lot of you I think you just nailed it. You just bang on. You said it is what it is. You have a buyer, you have a seller, there is exchange for goods, services, and other assets. So it was it is there across the spectrum. So again, we all encounter these kinds of transactions on a day-to-day basis. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to understand these financial transactions. This is just one set. Okay. This is only one segment which we are looking at. Second part is let's say you are part of the business. Let's say the owner of the restaurant is coming to you and telling, okay, help me structure this. I want to make sure that I'm spending X amount. I want to charge X plus 10 rupees. So I need the finance professional will be able to guide the business. They'll say, okay, you start charging at this rate. This is the amount you have to pay tax. This will be your balance at the end of the month. So all this is being done. They are structuring the whole business. So they try to explain how it is being structured. So the finance professional basically will say that, okay, you can spend so much this month. You can save some for the future. You can probably buy a new vending machine. You can have you can hire a new employee. So they'll come up with some ideas. So we are taking a small example of a small hotel somewhere in your locality. Even a small hotel will require some assistance, and that will be financial. So it could be from a professional, it could be from a person with a different background who has experience in finance. But the advantage of doing CA is you have better insights. So you come with that knowledge. You don't have to, experience for 2-3 years and then do it. You automatically come with that knowledge. You have more theoretical and practical experience when you do a course like CA. So that is some advantage which we have, right? So let me take you to the presentation which I've made. Just a small introduction to the course, and let's see if you have any doubts. Again, you're free to just break me. I'll present my screen. Is it visible?
Yes, Abhishek.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Right. What's this? Oh, can you guys draw something on this? Okay. Someone by name Radesh had done something.
You can disable annotations, Abhishek.
Okay. So it's
1 second. Let me do that. Just hold on.
Should I do it or the host will do it?
No, I think you can do it, Abhishek. So what happens is at the top of your screen, you can see the video.
Got it.
There, view options, disable annotation.
So I have to do it in, there is one thing called annotate. So I just clear it, is it?
No. Annotate, yeah, you can clear. That you can do, but that will be a constant thing. If you...
let it be. I think let it be. Let the names be seen.
Okay.
They won't do it
Okay.
again.
Okay.
No, it's okay. Even if they do it, it's fine, ma'am. It's okay. Yeah. So again, just a brief introduction to the course. Most of you might find it, it could be mundane, it could be boring, this presentation, but I'm just giving what I know about the course. Okay. You can still feel free to reach out to me, understand more. So let's just go through what it is basically. Okay. Just understand what the course is. Then we'll decide whether to, dwell deeper or not. So basically, we have, yeah. So this course, we have 2 routes. Okay. One is either you do your schooling and then you enroll for this foundation route, or you enroll after you graduate. So the advantage of this course, primary advantage is there is flexibility in terms of time. So it's not like an engineering where after schooling immediately you got to enroll and you got to study for 4 years. You have some flexibility upfront. So either after your 10th standard, you can enroll for the foundation course. Once you clear your 12th standard, you can give the exam. So this is how it works. So level 1 foundation is like you pass class 10 examination, and then you register with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, ICAA for short. And this registration needs to happen before 1st Jan or 1st July of a calendar year. The reason being, you have your exams in May and November. Okay. So they need some time upfront. They need some lead time, and they need to organize the material. They need to evaluate number of students before they prepare the exam material and evaluate. So this eligibility to appear for the exam happens only once you pass grade 12. So right now, most of you are in your 8th to 10th, right? So you have a lot of time. Number one is you have a lot of time, but it's good to get exposure to all these. So you can try to understand how the course works. You can decide whether you have the flair for numbers or not. So some people will be good mathematically, but maths and accounts are something different, which I'd like to highlight here. You might be good at math, but accounting is a different ballgame. So you can still use your mathematical capabilities in a very positive way in accounting. So it'll be very straightforward. Accounting is it is what it is. So it is very straightforward, and they try to simplify things. So what we do is we try to have some basic transaction. Like I said, transaction. We try to record transactions for starters. So at foundation level, you need to have a basic understanding of how transactions work. You have some preliminary subjects. You have multiple choice questions. We actually have, so we have one accounting paper, one math and logical reasoning paper. We have one economics paper, and we have one in, I think, business and commercial knowledge. So we have 4 subjects for this foundation level, which will be a multiple choice question, and it'll be like your competitive exam. You'll have, negative marking and all that. So you need to get above 50% in foundation level to graduate to level 2. This is how it works. Are we good with this? Are we clear on foundation? Are we clear on level 1?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So,
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Going to level 2. So what happens is once you clear foundation, you have to register for level 2, which is called intermediate. We generally address it as intermediate. You have a study period of 8 months. So you can keep preparing for your exam. Okay? You can go for, people have, a lot of kids attend classes. You would have heard of institutes in your own geography. So a lot of CA institutes come up. They come up with coaching classes. Now they have online classes as well. So they help you prepare for the exam, and it's a lot of, I won't say it's a lot of hard work, but I think it's a lot of smart work. You need to plan your time. You need to study when it's required to. You don't have to pump in like 10 to 12 hours every day, but you need to pump in adequate amount of study. So you can take one problem which is very comprehensive and still start working on it. One case study which is very interesting. So in level 2, what happens is we have more subjects. We'll have about 8 subjects, but a lot of them will have overlaps. So for example, let's say law. We'll have company law, then securities and transactions law. We'll have business law, and there will be some overlapping with accounting or auditing. So you'll have the applications in other subjects. So you'll have one subject which you'll do in detail, but you'll have overlapping applications in other areas as well. So you'll have to plan accordingly. So if there is an overlap, the advantage is we can take leverage. So we can prepare for both subjects at the same time. So that advantage we'll have. So like I said, there'll be 2 groups, and each group will comprise of 4 subjects, which totals to 8 papers. And there is something called this integrated course on information technology and soft skills, which is ICIT-SS for short. And you will have to do this 4-week course after clearing your intermediate exam. So the advantage, like I said, is you can clear group 1 and still do this course. So you have the crux is there is a lot of flexibility in doing CA. So you can finish group 1, then you can enroll for this ICIT-SS, and then you can again pass group 2 in the meantime. So that is something which is again exclusive to chartered accountancy. Lastly, we have something called the practical training. So once you finish your level 2, we have this 3 years of practical training. It's more like an internship. Can anyone explain what an internship means? Anyone?
So training.
yeah, it's like a training period, sir.
Training.
Okay, training under whom? Where do you go and train?
The time.
Practicing profession.
Under any organization, like where you want to work.
Okay, good. That is correct. So you can do
kind of a training period for to gain like relevant skills and experiences. Kind of.
Perfect. You got it all right. So wherever you want to, so any organization you want to go to, you can enroll for an internship. So the way it is structured in CA is, you'll take your internship articleship. It's called articleship. Okay, articleship training under a practicing professional. So I'm a practicing professional. So people come to me, they enroll with me to learn the skill sets. They want to understand how things work practically. They would have theoretical knowledge from level 2, but they'll put their theoretical knowledge to practice. So that is where this 3 years of practical training becomes very critical. So can we just cross-reference to the survey? So I would like to understand what the big fours of accounting are. Like you guys gave a list of companies. So can you just recollect and tell me what the big fours of accounting are? Any of you?
So could you please repeat, sir?
Yeah. So in my survey, I had asked what the big fours of accounting are.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what are the big fours? Can any of you just tell me, list it out?
So Deloitte.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Who's that? Can you just introduce yourself, ma'am?
Sir, I'm Akshaya from 8B, sir.
Akshaya. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Akshaya. Tell me. Yeah. One is Deloitte. It's Deloitte. Okay. It's not Deloitte. It's Deloitte. Okay. Next.
PricewaterhouseCoopers, sir.
Okay, sir.
Correct. PwC. Correct.
KPMG.
Actually, most of you got it right. Yeah. Correct.
EY, sir.
Yeah, that's EY. Yeah, you're all right. So these are the big four accounting firms. So they basically started as an accounting firm, but they are into different segments within the CA course. So they offer accounting, they offer taxation, they offer indirect taxation like GST. They offer consultancy. Correct. Yeah, guys, you got it right. KPMG, EY, Deloitte, and PwC. They are the big fours. So you are more aware than me. Okay, I back then I was not even aware of all these companies. So you guys are better off. So I didn't know that something like this existed. Don't worry. Like coming back to this, all these firms, they started off as accounting firms. So they have been in this industry for more than 100, 150 years overall. And they have evolved over time. So based on business requirements, they have become accounting, they've ventured into auditing, fraud examination, advisory, consulting, taxation. So they have branched out into different segments based on how businesses evolve. So if a business is having a requirement, so they try to address it. So everything cannot be done by the business owner, right? So what happens is they outsource it to these companies, or they ask for help. They go and consult them. So they say, okay, why don't you help me out with this project? I'm having an issue, structuring it financially. Can you just come up with an idea? So this is how they start working. So coming back to this 3 years of practical training, the advantage you have is you can practice under a professional, even who is locally domiciled, or you can work with the big four. So again, the core of this profession, you have the opportunity to, enroll for a big four internship or for a small firm internship. So the firm which I have right now is a small and medium-sized firm. It's got operations only in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, but we have been in the business for more than 30, 35 years. So we have got a lot of experience. So sometimes even big fours consult us. So we have occasions where the big fours will come and ask us for queries because we might be specialists in some areas. Okay, so these 3 years are very critical for any student to understand how businesses evolve, how your role as a chartered accountant will support the business. So we are all, end of the day, we are all enablers of business, right? We facilitate good business. We try to help the economy grow. So our role is very critical. We cannot just ignore it and say, okay, it's fine. CA is just another course. We can't do that. We have some responsibility to the society. So we try to act very professional. We try to understand situations because we also report to regulators. Like, for example, income tax. We try to report to them. We try to get data from business and try to report to a regulator like income tax. So like you guys said, income tax or GST, which is being charged by the government cannot do it by one department. They have different departments. So each thing has a different department. It's very structured. So if it is a company, you have something called NCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So that body will govern all companies. There are about like 1 million companies in India. Okay. So everything cannot be managed by just the regulator. They need people like us to help them, get the data. So we also try to enable businesses in reporting also. We try to, report to regulators. Any regulator which have you heard of any regulator which we hear a lot from movies as well? Any regulator which particularly? Who is a regulator actually? Can you just raise your hand and who's a regulator?
Students, do you know what's the meaning of regulation?
Some kinds of laws.
Some kind of?
Some kind of what, Ma?
No,
What's
sir.
that,
Some
Kirti?
kind of steps are lost to perform
Very
a
good.
You're there, Kirti. You're right. So it is a governing mechanism. So all these regulators, they're basically departments of the government. They're like wings of the government. So the government will not function as one body, right? It will be split into different parts. So these are all the
Yes, sir.
subparts of the government. So these regulators try to govern us through the departments. So we try to, even business is like a person. Business end of the day is also, corporate is also like a person, like a citizen. So that's why you hear the term corporate citizen very often. Most of you might have heard it. Even in movies, we're trying to hear all these things. I think the awareness is very high these days. So that's why I keep reiterating that we are all in that cusp where finance and technology is, integrating, and we're trying to understand a lot of new things. Even every day, I learn a lot of things through, movies or all these debates, seminars. So it's very interesting. We are at a very good point in history where we are trying to, integrate finance and tech, and we are trying to come up with a lot of problem-solving mechanisms. So coming back to the discussion, we have this 3 years of practical training where you get exposure to a lot of business-related, not just business. I would say even trust. For example, you have a school. Let's say your school will have an auditor. Every school, every trust will have an auditor. So you can do it even for a not-for-profit organization. So schools are generally called not-for-profit organizations. They fall under the NGO category. So the point is they apply their whatever income they earn, they apply it for the benefit of the students. That's how generally schools are supposed to function. That's how it is everywhere. So whatever profits they have, they plow it back into education. So education is supposed to be a charitable cause, like it's a very noble cause. So the government says, okay, even if you have this cause, you have to report. You have a great cause, great. I'll give you all the facilities, but you have to report to me. You report what is your income, what is your expense. I'll keep you. I'll not trouble you. As long as you report correctly, I will not trouble you. That is how they operate. So this 3 years can give you exposure to even such areas where you interact with not-for-profit organizations and then get an idea. Then after the 3-year course, okay. So the final stage is where you register for the final course once you clear level 2, and once you start the practical training, anytime after year 1, you can enroll for an advanced ICITSS. So basically, they have split it. They've split the integrated course on information technology and soft skills into 2 components. They wanted to make it very, very comprehensive for 2 months, but they thought for want of time and want of faculty, just for convenience, okay, they've split it into 2 parts. So you'll learn more or less the same things in a very professional way. So you'll understand how to interact with professionals, how to address, business user, how to address business people. So you'll get a lot of soft skill exposure as well, apart from the technical nuances. So this is very important for us. This advanced training is very, very critical. And by the way, only if you clear the advanced training, you will be allowed to write for your final course. This is something which the institute has mandated. So it is very important that we understand and gain a lot of experience during the advanced ICITSS. And finally, you get to appear for your exam during the last 6 months of your training. So how it works is you have 3 years of, you enroll for 3 years. At the end of 2.5 years, you become eligible to appear for your exam. So let's say now we are in May. So 3 years from now is 2024 May. But you can appear for your exam in November 2023. That's how it works. So you are eligible to appear 6 months prior to your 3-year completion. And you should have completed, the critical area is you should have completed your advanced ICITSS. That is very important for us. So once you clear the papers, you again have 8 subjects in final. It will be more or less an advanced version of your intermediate. So you'll have more in-depth knowledge about each paper. And once you clear these 8 papers, you're a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountant of India. And the advantage is you don't have to practice only in, let's say you're now staying in Trichy and you want to move to Bangalore or Delhi. You can still go there and set shop. You can start your professional practice even across anywhere in India. So the freedom to practice anywhere in India is available once you become a member. And again, so once you become a member, you're welcome to the club. That's how it works. And I just wanted to highlight a few advantages of being a chartered accountant. So one thing is you can look at CA as a business enabler, like I said, and also as a stepping stone for something bigger in life. So a lot of people who do CA went on to do their civil services exam. They became IAS, IPS. They went into police service or administrative service, revenue service. So a lot of people who finished CA went to do other competitive exams, and they are prepared for those competitive exams. So it is not a surprise when they encounter a tough question or they are bound by time. They are very prepared. Mentally, they are very tough. So CA student, you can ask any of your relatives or friends who have been doing CA. They're mentally very strong. So that's how the course prepares you. Sometimes it's good, you know. Yeah, hello.
Students, please mute your microphone. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. So, sorry. The second thing I was saying is practical exposure. This we touched upon in the previous discussion. So while doing your practical training, you get access to a lot of businesses. So one thing I would like to highlight is we as chartered accountants have a professional onus. Okay, we get access to financial data. So we're not supposed to disclose this anywhere. It's like your medical report. Okay, so your medical report is your personal information. The same way a doctor works on the medical health of an individual, CA professionals work on the financial health of people. So people could include even companies. So we need not be a real person. We can also be a fictional person like a company. We try to operate and work on the financial health of the companies. So it is very important that we get practical exposure, but at the same time, we maintain confidentiality. We don't release this information elsewhere. We should not even discuss this, by the way. We can't even discuss certain things at home. We're not supposed to do that. Whatever happens in Rome stays in Rome. It's like that. I know it's a different place, but I thought I'll say Rome for convenience. So the matters which we encounter on a day-to-day basis will be very, very confidential, and we have to keep it discreet. This is a requirement by the institute. So you have to adhere to certain professional norms. You have to keep certain information discreet. Third thing, like I said, is flexibility. I mean, I don't have to dwell too much on flexibility. We just spoke about it at every level. So the advantage is if you miss an exam or you're not able to prepare well, you can still appear for the next attempt. You have an advantage in terms of taking an attempt later. But of course, like I said, clearing it at one shot is always a matter of pride. For a matter of fact, I took 2 attempts in my final to clear the course. But the first attempt was like, I was not prepared. I came right from World Championship and then tried to give my exam. That's when I really knew that the CA final course is tough. It's going to be mentally challenging. You can't take it for granted. So you'll have to prepare yourself. And the best advantage is you have a lot of material, a lot of access to coaching centers who offer a lot of quality coaching these days. And it's about picking the right ones. So once you know, you have to do your due diligence there. You do your research, you check if it is suitable for you, and you try to understand. End of the day, it's the individual's effort which will matter. The coaching institute can only hold your hand and take you to the pond. It's your duty to drink the water. That's how I see it. So you will have to put your effort to understand, assimilate, and reproduce it at the time of the exam. That's very important. Yeah. And coming to another point about acting as an advisor. So you try to interact with a lot of people. So over time, you gain a lot of knowledge about what businesses do, what are they trying to contribute to the society, what are they trying to achieve in their personal lives. So you try to help them out. So you can act as an advisor to different types of businesses and individuals as well. Even for, let's say, your parents have a financial issue. They want to come to you. They want your advice. You can still be an advisor to such problems. You can give a solution. You can try to help them come out of it. They might have, it could be very simple. It could be about managing a monthly cash flow. They might have, let's say, 1,000 rupees expenditure every month. But I think they might feel it's a wasteful expenditure. They're not using it well. You can come up with a plan to, go for an annual subscription. Even that is, by the way, that is also financial knowledge. you can go for a better plan. You come up with ideas like that. The way we are talking about thousands when it comes to individuals, but for companies, it could run into millions and billions. So that's how critical our role is. So it could be about saving even in millions and billions. If you're in the right place, if you're in the right company and you have to take decisions, it could be very, very critical. So we have a responsibility with us, which is sometimes it is a matter of pride, like I said. So you're trying to help a company save a lot of money, which they can use it in better ways, and you can use it for your own employees also. So that is the kind of value we try to add to business. Lastly, this is something which I experienced. Your signature has immense value. It's not like you can think of it as an autograph, but I think your signature, both digital and manual signatures, have a lot of value that I've been experiencing over the last 5-6 years. Once I took to practice, this has been phenomenal. Like certain documents don't get validated without your approval. So only if a chartered accountant or another professional like cost accountant or CS signs it, it doesn't get validated. So that is the power our sign has. So that is something I enjoy. Okay, it's not something great, but it's still a matter of pride again. So some things are really good. You have to validate certain transactions. You have to approve certain decisions. You have to approve certain documents. They come with a lot of responsibility. So not everyone can do it. So you need to possess the knowledge. You need to possess the experience to do it. So this is something which is very unique to professional courses, especially chartered accountancy. And this trend is going to continue in India for the next 10 years. There are always challenges in pursuing a course. You could find it difficult for various reasons, but I think it's a very interesting journey. If you take it with the right spirit, I think it's a very interesting journey. So you can definitely add value to the society. And like I said, we are at the cusp of a financial and technological revolution. And most of the chartered accountants today are also technologically very strong. So they know how to use a lot of tools. They also start building small tools for entities. So they try to build there's something called macros where you automate certain processes. So macros are being built even by chartered accountants who don't have technical knowledge. So that's how we have evolved over time. The best part about CA is you're evolving over time. So you have a lot of time to read, time to apply what you read. So these are some things which are very unique to professionals, especially a chartered accountant. So with that, I would like to bring us to the end of this presentation. So I would like to, you can just access this ICAI's webpage for more information if you want to, understand how the course works. There's a more deeper, analysis of how this course is structured. What is the fee? Where you have to approach if you want to register. All those information are available online on ICAI's website. So with this, I think I'll conclude the presentation. But I would keep the floor open for questions.
So students, once again, as I mentioned at the very beginning, please keep your microphone muted so that the session can be conducted without any disturbance. So having said that, we'll open the floor for questions, students. So you've heard about a completely new discipline. You've heard about a lot of stages in the examination. You've heard about how it is different from other courses that you have often seen being practiced around you. Though this is a profession you've seen a lot, you've heard of a lot, but the way you approach this career trajectory is mildly different from how other trajectories are often approached by going through a particular institution or a college in a traditional format. This is a very different way of approaching it, which requires a lot of self-motivation and commitment. So I think it's an excellent opportunity for you to come in and ask any questions if you have at this point. So students, I'd encourage you to ask any questions, any doubts about this, about maybe how it is like to be an auditor, what are the things that you get to do day to day, or maybe in terms of how do I become one, is there any doubt about the examinations, how to register for one, when to start preparing, any of these questions, it would be an excellent opportunity to ask nowadays. So if you want to, please feel free.
Yeah, can I get your mail ID? Yeah, sure. I can share it. I'll be sharing a presentation to Aditya and to the school authorities. So you can have access to my mail ID. You can reach out to me anytime you want. Any doubts, you can reach out to me. But if you have questions now, it will be better.
Any questions, guys? Come forward and ask. If you don't want to ask out the question, you can type it out in the chat also.
You can just type it out. Yeah.
Be happy
Sounds
to
good.
answer that.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. No, sir, nothing to ask. Fine. Okay, what about the others?
This is typical. It feels like I was there, man. I think Akshaya is more like me. I used to do this. Nothing from our end. Every meeting, every call, we used to say nothing from our end. It's a safe answer, right?
Come on, guys. Questions are the way to...
No, just feel free to ask. It could be one thing is no question is absurd or intelligent, okay? Every question is a question. So just feel free to ask whatever you want. If I'm able to answer, I'll tell you. If I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. That's it.
You're so clear in your explanation. Nitish Shri has mentioned that.
Oh, thank you. But I would want you to ask something.
There is one question.
Okay, I think I got one.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Aditya. Sorry.
Which is the best way to enter CA? After finishing school or after finishing a basic degree in a college?
Great question. So first of all, you should know if you're inclined to do this course. Okay, attitude is very important. You should have a liking for this course. So people even from science stream actually shift to CA. You can do a BSc and still move to CA. That is a flexibility again. This I didn't mention in the previous slides, but I would like to highlight that even if you're doing an engineering course, you can still enroll for CA and do it. The advantage is all you need is to be a 12th pass out. So once you finish 12th, you can still do it. If you ask me personally, the best way to enter CA is after schooling. If you're academically inclined to do something, like if you want to, achieve your academic goals faster, you want more time in your life, I would say do it after school. But if you feel you want to explore a bit, you want to understand how a college is functioning, you want to experience college atmosphere, I hope the pandemic settles for all good reasons. I hope colleges open up soon. Once you want to experience that, you can still enroll after college. But personally, I would say if you're into academics, if you're liking to study a lot, you want to understand things faster, I think it's better you do it after school. And your mind is more fresh when you're younger. Even those 2-3 years will matter. When you're 17, you're more alert than when you're 20. So I think younger the better.
Okay, so there's one more question, Abhishek. What exam is good for... Oh, okay. IAS professional.
Wow. What exam is good? UPSC is the best exam right now. That is a clearing exam. You need to clear UPSC. But of course, the reason why I brought that IAS up was doing a CA will prepare you for competitive exams like UPSC. So UPSC is the clearing exam. You need to clear UPSC. And becoming an IAS is, by the way, it's not very easy. Let me just clarify that. You have a preliminary stage and you have a final stage followed by an interview. So it's basically 3 levels there. It's going to be very challenging. So people, in fact, a lot of IAS aspirants have done CA in the past. So people who could not clear IAS, in fact, got to CA. So there have been cases where challenging exams like IAS might actually make you very demotivated. But sometimes they go back to CA and they start doing CA.
The next question is from
thank you so much for your advice, sir.
Yeah. Welcome. Who's this?
Sukanya.
Sukanya, okay.
My ambition is IAS, sir.
Okay.
Good luck with that, Sukanya.
Thank you so much, sir.
So there is a question from Prarthana Raj. Sir, who is your role model?
My role model, okay. This is going to be a little specific. So in my sport, I had a very specific role model. When I was playing table tennis, there was this Korean table tennis player called Joo Se-hyuk. It's very difficult. I'll just type it out. Am I taking too much time, Aditya? I mean, I think there is a time.
Absolutely. I think students will be enjoying this. Absolutely. No.
Okay. So it's a very weird name, okay? Please don't think it's some abuse and all. It's only a normal name in Korean. So this person was, I think he played the World Championship final in 2003 in Paris. So after looking at his game, I was basically playing a defensive style of game, like the one I mentioned. This guy is a pioneer in defense. So I got inspired by watching him play, and then I took to going to the next level of playing for the country. A very inspiring person. In fact, he had Parkinson's disease and he fought back and came to play the sport. Very inspiring journey. So I look up to him in my sport. Otherwise, as a sports role model, I have 2-3 role models in sport, all from tennis, incidentally. I like the top 3 in tennis. So Roger Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic. I like all 3. So I like each of them for one particular style. So Roger Federer is for the way he plays the sport. It's very stylish. You enjoy watching him play. Nadal is a never say die attitude. So if you think Nadal is good only on clay, he'll go on to win all the other Grand Slams. So he's won 20 Grand Slams. So that's the kind of person Nadal is. He'll never give up. So I look up to Nadal for that reason. And Djokovic is one more person who's been very scientific with his approach to sport. It's very rare to see a person achieve something very scientifically in sport, because he's worked the right way. Like he's decoded sports for everyone, not just tennis. He's decoded the way sport is approached for everyone. He made it very scientific. So for that reason, I enjoy Djokovic, and he's been a great achiever in his field. So he's also come against a lot of odds. So I have great respect for these 3 people. Satvika, I play table tennis and not tennis. Just to clarify, table tennis is equal to ping pong. Yeah.
So there's another question about what is your hobby?
Hobby? Okay. I like listening to music. So I listen to a lot of... Sorry? Did someone say something?
Students, anyone? Did anyone ask anything?
No, sir, I'm asking this question for 4 to 5 times. That's
Which question, ma?
what is your hobby?
Okay.
Yeah, who's that?
Srinidhi.
Srinidhi, okay. Srinidhi, I listen to a lot of music. Could be very diverse music, Indian, rock, pop, different kinds of genres I listen to. But apart from that, I think doing 2 professions has been very taxing for me. So I used to stick my profession. My hobby used to be doing CA. Okay, when I was playing, and when I was doing CA, I tried to use TT as my hobby. So it used to be like juggling between 2 careers. But that was how it worked. You have very little time and you have to manage both. So basically, apart from music, it used to be more of sport and academics.
So there's a question which I want to paraphrase. Sukanya, 1 minute. There's a question which I want to paraphrase, which I think is a very important thing, and be happy if you're able to deal with it. One is that students talk about generally being disappointed when you don't accomplish something. You've been a sportsman and you've pursued something outside, and I'm sure disappointment is a part of everyone's life. So how do you deal with a setback or a disappointment, and how do you go ahead? That's something that they want to know. Added to that,
Aditya, great question. Can we make it interactive? I would like your inputs on this as well. So I was recently reading about this theory, like infinite games and finite games. Mm-hmm. So can we just touch upon that and make these people understand that being demotivated is only when you keep the game finite. So when you look at it as win or loss, you feel demotivated. Correct. But if you look at it as an infinite game, I think it is in the long run, it is going to be very successful. So only if you keep failing multiple times, you'll actually enjoy the success. So what I would say is, don't look at it as an event. Don't look at it as a game which is finite. Don't think that this is the end of everything. So you will feel motivated if you're challenging yourself. If you're better than yesterday, that will do. In my view, you perform something today. You do something better than yesterday, then you're good enough. Today is fine. That's how I look at it. You do something better tomorrow, you do something better day after, that will help you grow. You should not feel demotivated for the action or the event. The outcome is secondary. You try to focus on the process. You try to do what is required of you. Don't focus on the outcome.
So I think just for adding to this point, maybe the students may not be aware, guys, infinite games versus finite games, they're two different ways of looking at the very act of gaming. So traditionally, we're all used to finite games. There's a definitive endpoint. There is a winning objective. There are a known set of players. There is some statistic or metric by which you define and associate performance and success. But infinite games are when you play it lifelong, you are your only competition. You become a better version of yourself at every stage. So there is no real setback or failure that you face. It is just that everything that you encounter is a lesson to make yourself improve the next delta and go up to the next position, right? So that's, and you should really view life as an infinite game, because there is no definitive endpoint, right? If you think that coming first in the 10th standard board exam is the end point for you, then there's a lot more life after that, right? If you think that 12th coming first is the thing for you, then there's life after that. So at every point, I think one thing which we can, to add to what Abhishek said, what we can bring to the table is there is no end per se. Like there is no that one thing which you can achieve, which will make you like forever satisfied and forever happy. So there is no definitive winning point. When there is no definitive winning point, why do you make a definite game out of an infinite one, right? So that is my take on it.
Perfect. I think Aditya summed it up well. In fact, he was more clear. There's a lot you can learn from Aditya, by the way. So even I look up to him.
Oh my God.
So, no, I am serious. There's something which we learn every day, right? A lot of you guys came up with some questions which were actually new. Like it was very interesting to come from an 8th standard or a 10th standard student.
Absolutely.
Back then, we used to just, spend our time. Online classes was something unheard of. But even being part of a gathering or attending, seminars like these were very boring. But today I feel students are more proactive. They really have a genuine doubt. They want to address it. That is something interesting. So they don't blindly accept certain things, right? That is something very good about students.
Absolutely, completely agree. So would you suggest any outlet or expression for students to take into if they feel sad or dejected? Would you prefer them to listen to music or cultivate?
Definitely. First of all, I think physical fitness is very critical. Like all you guys need to at least do basic amount of fitness. Looking at the way the pandemic is unfolding, I think everyone needs to work on their breathing techniques. So breathing techniques are important even while doing fitness. So we can even start off small with some breathing technique or some kind of exercise. You need to keep the mind and body fresh. Okay, there's no doubt about it. So work a little bit on your physical fitness. When you're low, I think you should keep doing some kind of fitness. It could be a small workout like a squat or a push-up or something, running, or climbing the stairs. You can have a timing for that. You try to challenge yourself every day. So that, like Aditya said, is an infinite game. You can keep doing it even for the next 10 years. You can do a push-up. You can do 10 push-ups today. You can make it 15 after 1 week. You can make 20 after a month. So you can have targets for your own self. You benchmark yourself and you start having targets. It could be one way of, getting out of depressed feeling. I don't know why kids get depressed today. First of all, we have abundance. We should be happy with what we have. And even if you feel depressed, try to divert that depression into something productive. Fitness is something which will, because your body and mind gets tired after fitness. You need that rest. So there's no place for depression in your mind. You try to overcome that with, doing something productive. Fitness is something which I would recommend, which I've experienced. So even when I felt low in different points of time in my life, fitness came to my rescue. Out of personal experience, I would say fitness came to my rescue. It could be even skipping. I'm just saying, you can take a skipping rope, jump 100, 200 times. Even that could be very refreshing. So that is challenging your body and mind. So try to come up with ideas where you can divert your mind from depression. Personally, there is nothing to be depressed about. You will be depressed only when you compare yourself with someone else. When you are challenging yourself, there is no question of depression. I think you should be very optimistic. We should be grateful to what life has given us. We should keep fighting hard. That's it. That's my point.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And one more question, Abhishek. The last question which they have is, who was your inspiration to choose your current profession? Was there any reason why you chose the profession of a chartered accountant?
Okay, honestly, it was by accident. I wanted to give some exam. Okay, I was very keen on playing. This is the truth. This happened. So I wanted to just continue my playing career, but I wanted a diversion. Like, so I wanted to keep in touch with academics. Everyone was, clinging to MBA, and they wanted to do other competitive exams, go abroad for higher studies. So I thought, why don't we do something in India at the same time, find time for our sport. So this is how it started. One good thing which I feel very happy about is I was lucky that I didn't go for coaching classes. So I was more self-taught in that sense. So I had to prepare, I had to get material from my friends, I had to access online, go to libraries, get the material and start studying on my own. So that journey was very, very enlightening. So I had a lot of personal time, I had a lot of me time, and I tried to channelize it in the right way. So for me, I just took it by accident. CA happened by accident. But what got unearthed was a lot of opportunities. What I understood is every business would require help from CA. Whether you like it or not, today CAs are essential for businesses. So this gave me a lot of insights into how I can actually contribute to the society. Forget what you earn. You might even earn a lot of money. You can earn a little less money. But the kind of satisfaction you get in solving someone's problem is unimaginable. So I think that will give you more joy. I think you'll enjoy, solving one person's problem rather than lamenting about your problem.
Absolutely. I think that was really refreshing for all the students, and I'm sure everyone can agree about that. So thank you so much, Abhishek. Thank you for the time that you've put in. And
thank you, Aditya.
Really helpful in terms of shedding this light on a critical aspect of a career choice for students. I think all of them are very thankful, and I am thankful on their behalf. So, ma'am, Abhita, ma'am, if you could have a few closing remarks.
Yeah, Aditya. Students, just go to Google and search for Abhishek Ravichandran table tennis. Like that, you write and search, you will get a lot of images, and they are really inspirational.
Thanks a lot.
Just did that. Okay, thank you so much, Abhishek, for sharing your experience and valuable discussion about career as CA. I'm sure students would have got an idea about the profession. And one more thing is like about the sports also. You said like focus, dedication, and concentration should be there. It will come automatically when you play sports. So that also will. It was like motivational for them, and I must say it was an excellent presentation. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Just to conclude, just one point I would like to add here, ma'am. Just a request from people like us to the school management. If kids are doing well in sport, please encourage them to play the sport. I think this is a great opportunity for kids. The environment in sport is also booming. And like I said, out of my own personal experience, I've done both courses. So nothing is impossible. And today's kids are fabulous. I've personally observed them. And the way they grasp things are like 10x of what we used to learn. So if we could understand a concept in 2 hours, they are doing it in 20 minutes. So they're all phenomenal. So I would request the school authorities to encourage kids to take up to different kinds of vocations. Like it could be sport, it could be art, it could be painting, it could be anything. Let them do what they like, and I'm sure they'll excel in their academics as well. This is my request to every management. I make sure I take this point to the management.
We'll do that definitely.
Yeah. Please, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I must also thank all the students in the session for their cooperation, support, and active participation. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Aditya. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.